Listen, let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about Marcus Davis. ESPN released an article just recently about 30 coaches that will define the next decade of college football. And guess who
The
came
next
in at
decade.
26? High
Mark.
praise for a coach. And some of the things that they noted, Ike and Mike, is they talked about the fact that while he's young, they gave him a lot of credit for becoming a head coach at the SEC prior to the age of 30, which typically, if you're able to achieve that in your head coaching profession, that usually bodes well for your trajectory, right? So they expect him to actually do some impressive things based off of what he's already managed to achieve thus far in his early head coaching career. Alongside that is the fact that he came in as, I think he was sixth in 247's football recruiter rankings this past year. And we already know the job he did this past recruiting cycle, bringing in the Freeze 4. And he's also done work in the portal, bringing in an impressive receiver from Penn State. So they point to his recruiting prowess as well as what he's managed to achieve thus far. I ask you, gentlemen, I ask you in the chat, is Marcus Davis Hugh Freeze's most impressive or best offensive staff hire at Auburn to date?
Yeah, I'm gonna start here. Caesar, first of all, I need you to put some respect on my guy Dylan Gentry. This is still the Freeze 5, okay?
Okay.
Still the Freeze 5.
Okay.
Dylan Kane tatted up and ready to go. So we're gonna count him.
I'm not okay. Okay, sure. Okay.
Dylan is ready to go. Anyway, look, I mean, to answer this question, I think you got to look at who Hugh Freeze has hired to date, right? And we know who it's not, right? It's not Philip Montgomery because he got fired. So let's start there. Clear one out of the way for Marcus Davis. They got Philip Montgomery right out of there with the left-footed fellowship. Cadillac is going. And, I mean, technically that was a rehire, I guess. So
yeah, you can count it as a hire.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He had to retain him.
Sure.
So there was an interview. I don't know how much choice he had in the matter, but Cadillac's going. That leaves you with Ben Igamwa. I know I butchered that.
You did.
Kent Austin and Jake Thornton. I'm gonna go.
You talking about the initial staff, or are you talking about just overall?
Derek Nix.
The initial
is the only other.
Well, right. Yeah, okay. We'll throw Derek Nix in there.
Okay.
Hear me out. For a coach that has preached, we need to recruit. I'm going to say yes because he helped bring in the best receiver haul in the country. No small feat. You got 2 top 30 receivers to commit in the same class. Not top 30 at receiver, top 30 in the whole country. You got the 5th rated prospect and the 29th or 30th rated prospect, depending on what service you're looking at, to commit to come play with each other. And you said, you know what? There will absolutely be enough football to go around. The day that Cam Coleman committed, I got, news that he was at the Coleman house. And I was like, ooh, if he's going down there, this might be a wrap for everybody else. In today's college football, I think, they mentioned in the first thing that they mentioned on that list, Caesar, about why they rated him here, they said that, well, becoming an assistant coach at the SEC level under the age of 30 is a good, indicator of the trajectory of a career. Right. Truth. I think you're going to see more of this at the college football level because with money flying everywhere, having a coach that can actually connect with a player has never been more important.
Transfer portal as well.
I'm telling you, man. And Marcus Davis is a guy who's not that far removed from actually playing at this level. He can relate to kids in a way that maybe some of these older guys, even though they've been in the game, do they know what it's like to be a kid in today's era? He's not that far removed from that. He was in college less than 10 years ago. Marcus Davis absolutely is Hugh Freeze's best hire. 100%. And given how the offense, now his position group didn't do well last year, but I think that was more symptomatic of the problems they were having on offense. What position group did great last year? Quarterbacks? Nope. Offensive line? Yeah. Tight ends? Nope. Wide receivers? Nope.
I think the running backs did all right last year.
Okay, all right. Do we have a 1,000-yard rusher? Nope.
We were really close with that terrible offense, though.
But still, nope.
he just wanted to say no.
Yeah,
did we win a national championship with those guys? Nope. Okay. He just wanted to get the no. Okay, go ahead.
So all I'm saying is, if you take into account everything that happened last year, you had to take that whole heap of garbage that was your offense and go out and recruit the best recruiting class in the country. If recruiting is as important as Hugh Freeze never stopped telling us about recruiting all year last year. So if that is how you feel, Marcus Davis is your best hire. Hands down. It's not even, no debate. End the show. Roll the credits.
Well, Ike, you can leave because he said there's no. Yeah,
what am I here for?
I don't even know why he's still here. He says the end of the debate, but we're going to ask your opinion anyway because we have a show to still run. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the answer is Jake Thornton is the best, but I understand all of the reasons why Marcus Davis is up there on the list because of the results that you get from the recruiting. I think that the focus for the staff was on trying to get weapons for whoever they thought the quarterback was going to be. If they had settled on Peyton Thorne at the time. And so they put a lot of effort into it, and Marcus Davis was the tip of the spear when it came to that. So 100% think that he deserves all the accolades when it comes to that. I think when you look at the entire body of work, as far as look at the way that offensive line comprised mostly of people that were already here, right? They went and got people to supplement in the transfer portal. The transformation that offensive line made from year before to that year under Jake Thornton. And then you look at how offensive line recruiting has transformed at Auburn. I think if you look at the comprehensive nature of the job and not just the recruiting, I think Jake Thornton is probably the best hire, but Marcus Davis would probably be number 2 for me. I don't think the tight end position, I don't think that Coach Ben is bad at all. Like, this is not to crap on him. I don't think he's bad.
He just inherited a good
but he didn't. He brought Fairweather guy there, right? But and that's not to sneeze at Fairweather either. But it's not as if there's been a transformation of the room, or really in the play in that room. Like, the tight end room factored in better this year because of Rivaldo Fairweather, but by and large, that room still underperformed in a lot of areas, even with that coach there. You look at the wide receivers, right? Again, the play on the field, I don't think manifested in anything that you could really write home about. So I don't know. And again, I get wide receivers more symptomatic than it is anything else. So you upgrade what you think is the perceived talent fit for this offense, and you're doing a great job to get there. I think this story will be told this season, though. There's a lot of young talent that has to be coached. And Marcus Davis is going to be responsible for the trajectory of whether or not those guys improve. This was an issue that I had with Cody Burns when he was at Auburn. I thought Cody Burns was a good recruiter. I didn't think Cody Burns, he got guys that were good in the door. I don't think they improved a single bit under Cody Burns as the wide receiver coach. Now, part of that is Gus's system. I get that. But at some point in time, you have to see something get better, even if it's just better at the 3 things that Gus asks you to do. Like, I don't think any of those guys got better at anything while Cody was here as the wide receiver coach.
Yeah.
They never got better at running 30 yards.
Yeah. You raised a good point bringing up Cody Burns, though, because, I mean, we lamented the job that he did here in terms of development of receiver. But then when he got to Tennessee, it seemed like that wasn't an issue. And suddenly we were like, well, do we owe Cody Burns an apology?
I just think that the head coaching – I don't want to get into bashing the previous coaches. All right. Yes, I think there maybe was some apology needed for Cody Burns. I still would argue he's not like a great developer of talent, but I do think that he's a better coach than what I gave him credit for at Auburn.
I'll be interested to see when you bring in 2 top 30 players, right? In trying to judge whether Marcus Davis is Hugh Freeze's best offensive hire. Like, if the receivers do well, how much credit is going to go to him coaching them, and how much is going to be, well, you recruited Cam
Right.
Coleman,
Like, how
anybody
can you
could,
miss Cam
him.
Coleman up? And
Yeah,
I think a lot of that will have to do with the
yeah.
offense. But that's why I say I think this year is going to be kind of the telltale year about that, because if you do manage to mess up Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, then we got to have a conversation, right? About like, what are we doing here, bro?
Right.
Like, it is the problem then the coach's ability to get them to perform at a high level, or do you have to turn and look at maybe this system isn't it's past its prime, and Coach Hugh Freeze needs to figure out different ways to be able to utilize wide receiver talent? I don't know.
I think I'm not mad at your pick. Not mad at your pick at all. I think that Thornton is 1A. I think Marcus Davis is 1B. However, I think the most important hire is Derek Nix upcoming this season, because the success of what Thornton, the success of what Marcus Davis is able to do with his room hinges on whether or not we fixed the issues, the systemic issues with our offense. I'm curious to see what Derek Nix is able to do in year one. To me, I think that was a very important hire. Again, to Mike G's point, you fired the last OC. Hugh Freeze's terminology is back in. He understands it's his offense. He knows how to get in, run the offense as needed. I'm looking to see what improvements are made this year with Derek Nix. To me, he's the most important hire because everyone else's success hinges on what he does offensively. What you about to say,
Well,
Mike?
when you listen to what Hugh Freeze said about Derek Nix during our interview with him, he said that now that they have Nix here, Peyton Thorne senses that that they've done this before, that they've worked together. And he's saying this on feeling alone. He said, I haven't talked to Peyton about this, but I think that he senses that we got it together now. I'm paraphrasing Hugh Freeze. We have it together as a coaching staff. And if you're Peyton Thorne, you're thinking, I need 80-20 guys like Keon Coleman, and it's Marcus Davis's job to produce those guys. So, like I said, I hope that when they do well, that people give Marcus Davis credit for going out and recruiting these guys and saying, like I said, oh, how can you mess up Cam Coleman? No, you can mess up Cam Coleman.
Yeah, 100% you can. That's why I said this
He's not-
year will
Yeah.
determine, is he a good coach or not? Because it's like, well, it will determine if he's a bad coach. Let me say that, right? Like, it won't say if
Right,
he's a good
okay.
coach, but you'll find out really quickly if he's a bad one.
Right.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. So some of what we heard last year was about, guys running the wrong routes and being out of place and all that stuff. If that's not an issue this year, score one for Marcus Davis. Right? Because you can be a good receiver in the wrong place all the time. Not knowing your assignment, not knowing what to do. If guys improve as blockers, score another one for Marcus Davis on the outside. To do a lot of that jet sweep stuff, you've got to have good outside blocking. And if you do, it expands the things that you can do offensively. A lot of those swing plays to the outside, Ike, those quick outs, they don't work if you don't have blocking on the outside. Sure. So if he can get guys to buy into being good blockers, again, score another one for Marcus Davis. Right? Yeah. If anybody in the receiving room goes over 700 yards receiving, score another one for Marcus Davis. Right? If an actual receiver is the leading receiver, score one for Marcus Davis. Rivaldo Fairweather was the leading receiver on the team, I believe, in yards.
Yes. And receptions, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If Auburn has one receiver in the top 10 in the conference in targets, score one for Marcus Davis. Guys, the bar was on the floor last year. Now, they took the air out of the football, so the opportunities that his guys got to make plays were limited. Hugh Freeze thinks he solved that. So if you're Marcus Davis, your number one priority for next year is Cam Coleman. They will judge you by how that young man does.
Yeah, 100%.
And if he flops, Perry Thompson better be a star.
And if both of them succeed,
then ESPN is right. And he's gonna move right up on this list next year.
let's stick with that list. That's a pretty interesting title. 30 coaches that will define the next decade. What does Marcus Davis need to do for that? What does that even look like for a coach like Marcus Davis to be on that list? And how will he help define the next decade of college football? Obviously, it does start with a guy like Cam
lofty
Coleman.
statement. Such a lofty
Yeah,
statement.
you got
Yeah.
you got to put guys in. You got to put guys in the NFL.
Yes.
You got to put guys in the NFL, right?
But listen, and he has the opportunity, right? Like he's been basically gift wrapped Keandre Lambert Smith to say, put him in the NFL next season.
Here's a 700-yard receiver. Turn him into a 1,000-yard receiver. He's going to the league, right? You got to put guys in the NFL, and you got to get some first rounders in there. But to do that, they got to put the air back in the football. If you believe that you've recruited the pass catchers and you have talented guys that will no longer be a hindrance, by a lot of folks' definition, to the pass game. I don't think they were as responsible for Auburn's passing woes last year as some people made them out to be, but you think you've solved that. So moving forward, what we're not going to do is pretend like Cam Coleman suddenly sucks if he struggles. We're not going to pretend like Perry Thompson is not a dude. These kids could have gone anywhere in the country to play football. Everyone would have opened the bank to give them a scholarship. They chose Auburn. So they have to succeed. And if they're not, I don't want to hear a coach get in front of the camera throwing them under the bus. Saying anything but, you know what? They're young and they're going to come along.
Or we failed them.
Oh, yeah. Anything but
you can't do that at this point. These are your kids.
Yeah.
These are your kids now. You can't.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that at all. So Marcus Davis, I respect Ike's pick of Thornton. Caesar, did you say who yours was?
He said 1A and 1B between the two of them. So
1A and 1B? Yeah. Like, respectfully, for Hugh Freeze, the way he's preached it, if it's 1A and 1B, Marcus Davis is A. Because you have not shut up about recruiting all year. In the midst of a season, we got to recruit. Coach, what were all that play? We got to recruit. Coach, what'd you have for dinner last night? We got to recruit. That's all he talked about was recruiting. You made that your priority. It was successful to his credit. I'm confident that if this staff truly turns their attention to the pass game and says, we are going to do this better this year, it's going to be successful based on what they did with recruiting. They put all their energy into recruiting, and recruiting was a resounding success. Now put all your energy into play calling and game planning.
Not all of it, just
all of it.
Sufficient enough to where you can recruit. You still got to you got to walk and chew gum, right? So that was our problem is we love the recruiting. We just need you to also show
that, I mean, like honestly though, seriously, that's been the issue for Auburn for too long is the inability to do both well.
Both at the same time.
We either had stellar recruiting classes and poor performances on the field, or coaches that focused almost exclusively on the field, didn't get really good results out of that, and not on recruiting at all. And it's just like, can we find a coach that's able to do both things at this? Because there's not an example of a successful program that can't do both. You can't find me one. The most, I think your ceiling for that is Ole Miss. We can put it together out there on the field fairly well, and we can recruit fairly well, but we don't do either of those things at an elite level. I think Lane Kiffin is an elite play caller, but I don't think he's an elite coach because and we talked about this in the last show, and I hate to just keep taking shots at Ole Miss, but when he goes up against the best coaches, she craps the bed.
Yeah, he's not elite at game planning. He's not elite at adjustments, and he's not elite at high school recruiting. All true statements about Lane Kiffin. So if you're Hugh Freeze, you proved that you can be an elite high school recruiter in your first full recruiting class. Okay, we accept that. Iffy on whether he can be an elite play caller. He's a very good play caller. And he called game plans good enough to beat Saban twice. That's a short list of coaches. But his team still fell short of that next level. Elite tweeter. Yeah, accurate and relevant.
I would have to agree with that.
So if you're Hugh Freeze, right, you've shown you can do it. I think that if you put more, let's say we're talking about 50-50 walking and chewing gum at the same time, put just a little bit more energy into your game planning and calling, and that job you have to do on the recruiting side gets a little easier. Because right now you're selling hopes and dreams. Once you have proof of concept to sell, to say, look, it works, that recruiting job gets a little bit easier. Then when you win, it gets a little bit easier. You still give it the same fire and intensity, but what you're selling is easier for people to digest. Come to Auburn, where you can win, play on the biggest stages of college football, get developed, go to the NFL, marry a hot wife, live in a mansion.
Yeah, come to Auburn
That's what-
if you don't want your
all
producer dancing around in your videos.
That's what you want to do. That's the dream you're selling. You can have it all here. That's what, like, listen, that's what Saban was selling.
No, Didi.
No, Didi.
Sorry.
That's what Saban was selling. Saban was selling all that. You come here, and if you were a 5-star, you went to Alabama during the Nick Saban era, you were leaving likely a first-round draft pick, worse the second-round draft pick. He didn't have a whole lot of 5-stars flop. So, once you had that to sell, he could convince multiple 5-stars to come and compete with each other, because they knew if they won that, they had proven themselves at the highest level. And there was no way the NFL wasn't going to take them. Somebody's going to give you a chance because you had that god-awful Alabama A on your helmet or your chest or wherever the hell they got it on the uniform. Hugh has to do that with the A and the U. That's why coaches like Marcus Davis are so important. Get the kids in the door. Marcus is helping you with that. Get them developed. Hopefully, Hugh is helping him with that as well, too. Now, we'll listen to something after the break that talks about how they're getting him that help. But, I don't know. I just think in today's game, having young coaches that can relate to kids, having a coach that can go put his arm around a kid, guys, when they had just had the worst game of their life, and say, listen, we still believe in you. We're still coming to you. Get ready for the next pass. Because we're invested. We've done the work. You've done the work. And your career will not be defined by that one mistake you made in that one game. When he's doing that, you're getting 10 times your ROI investment on a young coach. And you know what's going to happen, right? They said in the article that, like, becoming an SEC assistant coach under the age of 30 is one of the indicators of the trajectory to a head coaching job. And if that's the track that he's on, we may not have Marcus Davis very long. But I'll be damned. He can deliver some championships while he's here. He can help deliver some championships while he's here. Marcus Davis is so important. And because he's young, maybe you have a chance to hold on to him longer than some of the other guys that are a little bit further along in their careers, and by age, thus closer to that head coaching position. Hire a guy under 30, you may be able to keep him for 4 years. Or promote him when the time comes and you need an offensive coordinator that has gone on to take a head coaching job. I think he's the most important just as you project out into your career. And I got Hugh Freeze to tell me that he wants to stay here.
Yeah, he did say it.
He wants to retire an Auburn Tiger. Well, Hugh, win enough games, develop enough coaches, put enough players in the NFL, and that dream will become a reality while you're making $11 to $12 million a year to do it on today's market. He'll be making double what he's making if he can get Marcus Davis to be a hot commodity in the college football hiring coaches union. I don't know what I'm saying, but you guys know where I'm going with this. All right.
Union.
They have
Yeah.
a union. The coaches have a union.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know,
Yeah.
but you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good indicator. Just the same way putting guys in the NFL is a good indication of trajectory of your program. Head coaches getting other assistant coaches getting other opportunities, not just head coaching opportunities, but coordinator opportunities and other guys coming after them. Was it Georgia that was trying to poach
Zach Etheridge.
Zach Etheridge? Yeah.
Yeah.
What we were told was they came at him with the bag to get him away, primarily because of recruiting. Again, another guy who is just over a decade removed from competing at this level in this conference. Now Kirby Smart was like, hell, I'll hire him. We already got a good thing going. If I add a coach like that, he'll be able to sell Georgia easily. That's what you got to do with Marcus Davis. Make him the next thing that everybody wants to hire, and your offense is definitely headed the right direction.
I think that becomes an easier job if Derek Nix has had success in his role. I think if you're able to take a guy who was coaching receivers a year prior at Ole Miss and he elevates as a OC and he begins to, obviously he's known as a good recruiter as well, but if he has success offensively, if Auburn's offense goes from being dysfunctional to competent, and Auburn is now putting points on the board, guys like Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Eden, quarterbacks looking good in the offense. As he succeeds, you're beginning to see the Marcus Davises of the world begin to really step up and really show what they can do, because you've fixed the thing that has kept everyone from succeeding offensively for so long as a unit and as a group. So I think Derek Nix is the key here.